people are loving what they're doing and telling more people are hearing about us and wanting to change their life and come do something that's just amazing that they might not have done or didn't think they could ever do. The mindset and the behavior and seeing somebody that says, I finally have the confidence to leave a relationship that's not healthy or to make the career change that I've not thought I was worthy of. Because when we're not feeling good in our skin, we accept less than treatment. When we start feeling better, we tolerate less bullshit.
Welcome to the Fitness CEO Podcast.
Hey friends, welcome back to another amazing episode of the Fitness CEO Podcast. And before I introduce today's guest, I want to give you a friendly reminder. Give this episode a like, a subscribe, or it's an awesome review on iTunes. And better yet, share this so that way we can keep producing this content for you for free. So now to introduce today's guest, who is a dear friend of mine for nearly 10 years. He is the owner of Lyndhurst Fit Body Boot Camp near Cleveland, Ohio. He has been a franchise partner, a valued franchise partner, blazing the path, really helping support other franchise partners within our brand. He's also been an avid, active member within the Fit Body Boot Camp Elite Mastermind, and he's grown an incredibly successful fitness business and here today to be able to provide you some visibility and some strategies to help you do the same. So without further ado, I want to welcome my dear friend, Mr. Ryan Goldstein, to the show. My man, Ryan, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Bryce.
All right. Well, we've been planning this for quite some time. You're shooting back to Cleveland today, and while we're here in the studio in Southern California, I really wanted to take some time to chat with you, being a good friend of mine since, I want to say 2015 is when you became a Fit Body Boot Camp owner, and our relationship has developed over the years. And for the sake of this episode, I really want to take a step back, highlight you. Really, it will act as a client case study, if you will, just for someone who's been in the trenches, have had a lot of success with our brand, and someone I respect a lot. So we're going to get into a lot today, some technical things about running in gym business, but also too some outside things like personal development and emotional IQ and things of that nature. But before we go into that, just want to give you the opportunity to kind of give us the backstory. Really, how did you get into fitness? How did you become a Fit Body Boot Camp owner? Would love to hear that.
Absolutely. It's definitely been like a chapter changes in evolution. I was a personal trainer. I started my own private training business after I completed my master's degree in exercise science, and I was literally training clients out of my old childhood bedroom at my father's condo. So second floor, above his bedroom, literally.
Humble beginnings.
Very humble beginnings, yes. And little by little, I was building, clientele, but I also found myself getting stagnant or feeling stuck. And I had found Bedros online, and I went to the FBS in 2015.
And for those of you who don't know, FBS is Fitness Business Summit, which was a massive event that just continued to gain momentum over the years that Bedros launched. Yeah. About what year was this roughly that you joined FBS with your dad?
I was at FBS, it was April of 2015.
Okay.
And I went there just looking to figure out what's next, because I knew there was more impact to make. I knew there was more things we could do, and I couldn't do it alone. So we went to FBS, and I heard Bedros speaking about coaching and the importance of having, the proximity. Mm-hmm. And I joined his 7-figure mastermind coaching program. Okay. I didn't know what I was going to be doing with it, where I was going to land, but I knew I needed help.
And why? Because at that point, you got your exercise science degree from master's degree.
Yeah.
You started, training, humble beginnings. So you had a business, but
Yes.
really it wasn't too much of a business at that point. You were looking for direction, guidance. You had a big vision to grow, but really you need a lot of help in that.
How to make things scalable. Like literally no one tells you, how do you find a lease? What do you do with this? How do you start hiring people? Where do I get everything? Mm-hmm. No clue.
Yeah.
So the guidance of someone who had been doing it or has done it faster or better, time collapses. So that's what I needed. And I wanted to be in the room with people that knew how to do it, that had a vision, that were doing the things that I wanted to be doing and probably doing them a lot better.
Mm-hmm. So that was really the driving force to basically make you and your dad, actually. So I'd love to hear that story. Sure. We're just talking offline. So
absolutely. So, I was telling my dad about this. I'm like, yeah, there's this, this guy online. I'm following him. He's like, I don't know about this. Like, I want to support you. If you're excited to go do it, he's like, can I go with you and see what this is about? I said, sure. So we flew to Orange County, and we sat through 2 days of the Fitness Business Summit. And at the end, the golden or the black envelope actually at that day of the joining the coaching program, and he looked at me. He said, "Do you want to do this?" I said, "It's a lot, but yeah, I do. I think this could be the next step in growth in so many ways." And he said, "I want to do this with you." He said, "I'll pay your entry, you pay mine." So he joined the coaching program with me for a year. He went to every mastermind with me. He wanted to support me and see me grow, but also make sure that I was around the right people to do the right things.
And I want to dive a little bit of that in the
Sure.
case that our audience doesn't really understand the framework of a mastermind. And we certainly
Absolutely.
have our elite mastermind here at Fit Body Bootcamp, which is a higher level coaching program really focused on developing talent and leadership, and also to not only franchise partners, but their leadership team. So generally speaking, you want to kind of give a little guidance specifically within the Fit Body brand, but just more contextually in the case that our audience hasn't heard of like a mastermind.
Absolutely.
What did that entail? What did that look like in terms of you joining?
So it looked like, a collection of people that are all sitting in the room that are hopefully looking to, whether it's grow their business, grow their personal and professional developments, and aspects of things that you wouldn't think about when starting. And these are people that are all dialed in on a vision and looking to grow and elevate each other. Because you could look around the room and all be at different places in your business, but every question that someone asks is either something that you need to pay attention to because you could run into that problem and how to solve it, or, hey, I had that problem. Let me help you and tell you what I did. And it just puts the brain and like framework together that is absolutely like monumental in growth, in helping and creating more impact.
And you talk about in the rooms. I mean, what's the cadence of communication or meetings? What does that framework look like?
We would get through, it's usually a 2-day mastermind, and we'd have different topics, whether it's, service aptitude, whether it's leadership, whether it's hiring, whether it is culture, from signing a lease to finding a location to all the things that involve that you wouldn't think about of like, I just want to train people.
There's a lot more than that.
Yeah, but it's like you just make sweat and high five. Yeah, totally. But everything you realize is your responsibility from the moment you set foot in that building or sign a lease or take on something of a larger, magnitude. You're the janitor. You're the, motivator. This happens. That's my fault. That's my responsibility. It all comes with it.
Totally.
And we don't all have the skills or knowledge or don't know what we don't know to solve that problem or make it better or just bring the right people on with you to do it that have the same vision. Because no one teaches you how to hire people.
There's so much in the business world that, like, if even you went to a contextual university, that they teach you a business framework, but like the actual real world application, I mean, we're talking two completely separate things.
Well, theory and application, similar with school, like, trainer versus, hey, how do you, coach somebody? Very different.
Totally. So thank you for providing that insight. That was kind of the framework that got you in the ethers of coaching, of mastermind, of networking, of Bedros. So how did, the initiation of your path towards Fit Body happen?
So, like I said, I was at Fitness Business Summit, and, that was put on by Bedros, and obviously Fit Body at that point, he was just going through that with all the other owners on stage and explaining how they had come from their humble beginnings, if you will, and how Fit Body was an avenue for them to take for the next steps. So I started doing my homework. We drove from Orange County actually to Arizona. We were going to Scottsdale, and we stopped at a couple Fit Bodies on the way.
Oh, cool.
And in the back of my head, I'm like, man, this could be cool, but I want to see what it's about. So I stopped at other locations, called other owners, was back and forth and thinking, okay, I don't know if I like the colors, I don't know if I do this, it was all of it. I'm like, what am I processing? But how can I quickly take the next step to get open and do more as quickly as possible? Fit Body was that way for me just because of the way that I wanted to work and the way that I wanted to operate and knowing the culture and service and where that was going and how they were trying to serve people. It aligned with how I wanted to work. I didn't need my name on it. I didn't need whatever colors special. I just wanted to be open and going because there were people that need help.
Yep. So that was basically like the launch, the inspiration for you to be like, all right, I'm going to take a serious look at this, and actually, I'm going to actually become a Fit Body Bootcamp owner. So when did you open, and really want to kind of high level get some insight on what it was like then, in terms of your day-to-day responsibilities, et cetera, and then really how it's evolved since 2015.
Absolutely. So we opened December 7th, 2015. We just celebrated our 7-year anniversary.
Congrats, my man.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I have gratitude for you for that and your impact on helping me get there. I had that moment. We were, building things out, and, the gym was getting ready to open, and I had that moment of, holy crap, what if nobody comes? And then it was like, holy smokes, what if everybody comes? It was just me. Like, it was literally just me of, like coaching every session, and you don't know what you don't know about marketing. There's like ClickFunnels, and then there's Facebook ads and like all these things, and you're like, what am I doing?
Totally.
So trying to find people along the way, which obviously the mastermind was helpful in getting marketing going, and this is who you contact for that, and this is how you order things. Like, I did every session for the first, 5-6 months, we had, several sessions a day, and in between I would sit there and like learn how to do ClickFunnels and Facebook ads and follow up and how do we do meal plan, like so many things. But I needed help. And the biggest thing that I look at is how do you bring somebody on? How do you coach them up? Or how do you know if you're bringing the right people on? I brought someone on, my first, part-time coach was not a good fit. And at that point, I was like, okay. Strangely enough, we were 3 months into opening, and I had a flood at my gym.
Ooh, business ownership at its finest.
Yeah, and I was actually supposed to go to FBS at that point. That it was coming up on the March of 2016.
Yep.
And we had a flood 3 days prior.
I mean, this is like within 3 months of you opening.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely. I'm like,
good times.
hands down, the number one thing I was like, there goes my business. Like, we have to close. Like, my drywall, 2 feet up, all around the entire perimeter, my drywall is cut in.
Ooh.
And I'm like, I'm going to lose my business. No one's going to come. We have to shut down. I'm supposed to go to FBS. I was nominated for, like, an award. Like, I couldn't, like, I called a friend of mine, and I said, I need your help. My friend Julie, who had gone, we met in grad school. We did our master's together. And she was coaching and doing work across town. I said, I need to pull this off to this trip. I need help. Can you come coach sessions? Can you come just take a look at the facility? Like, we could do some amazing things. I need help.
Yeah.
And that started the next steps of bringing on another coach that just got it. She's been with me for almost more than 7 years now.
Wow.
But little by little, I started growing in memberships, and we started building community. We started building culture. And I think the number one thing that, like, I know that we can change lives and do amazing things, but if I can't get you in that room, if I can't make you feel comfortable, if I can't understand how to help you, you're not coming in or you're not coming back.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned the importance of creating connections and little by little putting the right people in the right seats, that I don't need to do everything. And delegating was a huge piece of, like, the next piece, or the next step rather. And training people up the right way. I have made mistakes. I have had hiccups. I have owned all of them. I told my team, like, I'm going to screw up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to make mistakes. The biggest thing that I want to promise and work on is that I'm not going to keep making the same mistakes. Because if you can give them the autonomy and put them in the right places, they'll put their foot on their gas and go.
And Ryan, I mean, to your credit, that's just the spirit of good leadership. You know, as a leader, you have to set the vision, you have to set the clarity in terms of where your organization's going, but no one's perfect, right? You make mistakes, I make mistakes, but having the white belt mentality to chart the course, but also to communicate your team. We're not going to always get it perfect, but we're going to talk. We're going to basically learn from each other, get feedback. And I think from a leadership perspective, you know, outside eyes looking in, that's been a huge aspect of why you've been so successful. And I want to dive into some of your zones of genius. Before I do, one thing you just said about, you know, your coach for 7 years, I would like to unpack that a little bit, because really, like, I don't want to gloss that over, because really we talk about the value of retention, you know, from a client perspective. In order to really grow your business, grow your profitability, you have to have clientele and really make a focus on your clientele so they stay, they pay, and they refer. But really, okay, that's the outcome you're looking for. But really, internally, you do that by keeping your team connected, pouring into them. Because if you have high turnover in a team perspective, you're going to have high turnover in a client perspective. So from your lens, you know, 7 years, and I'm going to ask you to pump your tires a little bit and brag, but why do you think you've been able to pour into your coach? And forgive me, the coach's name?
Julie.
Coach Julie, who I know as well. Why do you think she's been with you for, you know, more than 7 years now? What sort of development have you put in? Really unpack that a little bit to be able to provide our audience some frameworks on the value, and also to how to keep a coach like that for a long time.
Sure. I know it's not a typical situation. We talk about, hey, turnover, and, 2 to 3 years you have somebody, or things change. We've definitely gone through growth spurts together, and we've had moments of tension or conflict and figuring that out. But I think at the end of the day, she is someone that is bought into what she does as a coach in the craft of programming, connecting, and creating an experience. When you look at why someone walks in our door, they're looking to make a change, whether they just want to start moving and sweat, or they want a body composition change or a lifestyle change. We need to understand how to connect to them and make them feel comfortable. And she has an uncanny talent for that. Her coaching ability is incredible. You know, it's dynamic. It is form and cues, but it's the, enter train, if you will. she can set the stage. And I want to continue to give her a place to do that as we grow. So we started implementing our Fit Body Forever program. It is a passion project for her. And understanding what is important to her, how can I keep her engaged so she sees growth, so she can see the full vision that there's always enough road to keep going. Little by little, as you hire people, and I wanted her to set the scene for, we're onboarding new coaches, what do you want that experience to look like? I want you to run the floor. That is your autonomy, if you will. And I also realized she can't lead people if she's not been given leadership skills. Like, you're in charge doesn't mean you're a leader. Good luck.
That has no bearing. Just because
Title.
you are the CEO does not mean you are a leader, my friend.
gosh.
Yeah.
So I started getting her into more leadership training with, Barrett has been amazing with getting that going for us in our team with DISC, and recognizing how can we mold somebody that has the desire, that is hungry, that is humble, but how do we make it consistent? Because you need the consistency in that experience. Anyone can have one great game or one good day on the mic.
Yep.
The next person, the next session doesn't know what you did yesterday. It's
Totally.
like, every day is game day, and if I can deliver that experience and consistency, and she can round up the rest of the coaches that we have and say, this is what I want to see, this is the consistency, this is the cue, so everybody hears the same thing. Mr. and Mrs. Jones knows exactly what to expect. That is the best freaking 30 minutes of her day, because they're going to see Coach so-and-so, or they know that we always high-five, or we know their name, or we can modify to keep them safe and make it manageable and leave with a win. Like, that is it.
Totally.
I don't take it for granted that she's been with me for this long. We've started traveling and taking her to masterminds and putting her in positions to learn and grow around other people and have that interaction that's not just from me. They get sick of hearing your voice, right? But if they hear it from an outside voice.
We call that the parent voice,
Yes.
right? And,
Yep.
you viewers out there, if you have children, you can say something till you're blue in your face to your kids, but then your kid hears the exact same message from maybe their uncle, their aunt, their teacher, a peer.
Hey, guess what so-and-so said? The same thing I've been saying for 3. Awesome, right?
And to your point, though, the value, and certainly, she really respects you, right? There's no way she would, be engaging this relationship for a long period of time. But really what I'm hearing in the message that I want to be able to provide is you continue to develop her from a personality perspective, from a leadership perspective. You're constantly adding value and also bringing other resources. So that way she hears maybe a similar message, a same message, or even a different message from a different lens, and that message is retained. And there's a formula for it, but from a combination of multiple ways is the reason that she's been with you for this long, and the futures continue to be bright.
I mean, we talk about in our group, people are our product. So if you don't pour into them, they're their front lines. That's who your clients are walking in and seeing first. I'm not on the floor anymore. I've shifted into my role, but knowing that they are my front line of defense, they're my communication of what's going on. They'll come to me with stuff, but I want to give them all the firepower possible to do their job in their role so they can win.
Yeah.
It's taken time, and we've had hiccups for sure. But they'll trust that there's a reason and why we can course correct, and that the vision is taking us where we need to be.
Love that. Cannot underestimate that enough. So I wanted to highlight that, unpack that. So I appreciate that, Ryan.
Sure. No, thank you.
All right, I want to shift gears here and really to the meat. There's 3, kind of characteristics or qualities and strengths of yours, at least from my lens and my coaching and profitability team's lens, that has really been fundamental to your success. So I want to unpack these from your perspective. The first is high EQ, which is emotional intelligence. And Ryan, you have this in spades, and you need this from a leadership perspective. That's so, so important. And interestingly enough, we talked about DISC and the value of understanding personality traits. Yeah. You're a high parrot or high I interactive, which means you are very charismatic. You get along with people. You have fun. You can create culture and energy and relationships. Yeah. You also have a dove in you, which really is able to, from a connection perspective, from an empathy perspective. And I think that is so, so important from a coaching perspective, because if we were just training robots, well, then it probably wouldn't matter as much. But guess what? We're not training robots. We're training people who have emotions and feelings, et cetera. Yep. So from an EQ perspective, that's my lens on one of your strengths as well, my team. Can you talk to that and maybe, show an example or two how that showed up in your business and why you've been successful because of it? Sure.
I think you nailed it. Everybody walks in with a big bag of feelings, because you think about what is somebody dealing with before we even meet them. They might have tried, 6 or 7 different programs. I failed at everything. My relationship with my partner is suffering. I don't believe I can do this. How do I get her or him to take that first step? And understanding their pain and to say, I see you and I hear you. Many people have felt the same way. Here's the steps they've taken. Can I ask a couple questions to see if you're open? Because I think we can do amazing things together. I want to make sure we're the right fit and we can develop a conversation. Because if you can't have that conversation, you don't know what somebody needs.
Mm-hmm.
But they also aren't going to initially come out and tell you everything.
They will not.
It's vulnerable.
Yeah.
It's transparency and vulnerability. It's raw because they're actually telling you, I hurt, I'm in pain, or I'm struggling, and I'm uncomfortable in my skin, or I'm winded going up and down stairs, or I can't get down on the floor and play with my kids. I want to change that because their life gets better. But until they take that step or can address the problem, we're going to keep doing the same cycle. But if I can't have the hard conversations, I can't get anywhere. So if you can build a rapport, all of a sudden it becomes easier to start talking, right?
Totally. Well, you kind of alluded to the second point, which is your zone of genius about hard conversations and taking a step back. Crucial conversations, conflict resolution. In a perfect world, you'd have all peace and harmony, but unfortunately, when working with other people, that's just not the case. That's not reality. So you need to be able to bring a skill set to the table, which you have in spades, is to be able to de-escalate a situation, resolve a conflict, have a really crucial, uncomfortable, but needed conversation. So again, another strength that you have, Ryan, in spades. How has that shown up? Maybe if you can show some example or two of your leadership and how that's benefited you and your business.
I think some of the hardest conversations are the best conversations we've had because it's given us a chance to either solve problems or strengthen a bond, whether it's with a teammate or on the floor with a member or even possibly, not the right member. And how do you have that conversation?
Not the right member. Actually, let's unpack that for a second because, of course, from our lens, initially, at least, I've been guilty of this, and I know many of other gym owners have as well, is we need every single client. But the fact of the matter is we do not need every single client.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, you need to make sure clients are a good fit for you. So we talked about conflict resolution and having crucial conversations. Where has that showed up maybe from a client perspective that wasn't a good fit?
Absolutely. And these are things you don't think about, right? Because
not at all.
Ever.
Yeah.
You're like, you don't know your avatar. They're going to sign up. Cool. Everybody, you just want them to sign up. But what is the cost of a bad experience? That room, the culture, it changes.
Totally.
So I needed to have a hard conversation with somebody to protect the other 26 people in the room in that session because it was something that was going on that little by little, it didn't seem like it was the right fit, or there was a passive aggressiveness or commentary to the coach or something that was changing the tone in the room that was taking away from the enjoyment and the experience because it was uncomfortable or it was distracting. Mm-hmm. Nobody tells you how to do that.
No.
My coaches, had come to me like, hey, here's the situation. It's somebody is just, they're being louder or they're being disruptive or they're questioning or, got it. You try to curb that and then all of a sudden you're like, I need to be very direct.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable.
And I want to take a step back. Typically speaking, I think it's a great framework of what you just said. A lot of times your team, and of course your job as a leader is to develop your team, but when there's a client that goes toxic or sour, typically speaking, unless your team is super on point and highly trained to the nth degree, what's going to happen is your team is going to take that information and they're going to pass it to you, which needs to be expected.
Correct.
So I'd want to kind of point that out as well. So then once you receive that information, Ryan, how do you handle that? What's your next step?
I think entering to the crucial conversation piece, you go into it exploratory. We had Ann Laguza had done an amazing presentation for us with our mastermind and talking about having exploratory conversations and how to best do them. But that gave me some framework on understanding what's going on. Is there any other information that I don't know? Because you never want to lead with the outcome in place, but is there any information I'm missing that I can solve this problem versus, hey, we are no longer a good fit? Mm-hmm. So I led with, hey, we've been noticing that X, Y, and Z is happening on the floor. Do you mind my asking, is there something going on that I don't know? Is there a situation at home or is there stress at work? Because when we began, we seemed like a really good fit, and we were hopeful that this would work out. However, what we're noticing is X, Y, Z. Can you give me more clarity on that? And it's never an attack, because people remember how things start and how they end.
Totally.
They don't care what you've done for them the last 6, 7, 8 months, 9, 10 years, whatever.
Yeah.
But it became apparent that, hey, this was no longer a good fit, and I wanted to make sure we parted as friends, that I could also make sure my team was protected, to take care of them, and that everyone else in the room was. And the person responded like, no, nothing's going on. Like, I just think this, or, I'm looking for something. I'm like, cool. Like, we might not be the good fit anymore, but I love it here. And that's A, awesome to hear, but B, you're still causing, a disruption or a problem.
And Ryan, and this is your zone of genius, but you have a duty, obligation, responsibility to protect your team, protect your culture
At all costs.
at all costs.
And that's where it comes back to the vision and the values of, does this align, and what action do I need to take to protect the team and, make sure their culture and our vision and our values align with every decision, even the hard ones.
And this is so valuable because this is something kind of we talked about early in the conversation. No one provides you that visibility prior that, hey, you just think, okay, you're going to get all these clients. It's going to be great. Happy days. You love coaching, et cetera.
It's rainbows and puppy dogs. And
right?
Yeah, it's great.
Right. But then shit hits the fan. And then you realize that, okay, sometimes you have teammates that goes toxic, but sometimes you have clients that goes toxic, and to be able to navigate that conversation. And to your point, not coming accusatory, coming from exploratory framework, that is so critical. And I think that's just inherently installed in you. Of course, you've gotten coaching and self-development over the years that adds to that. But I think it's something that really needs to highlight and you share with the message to audience today because it's so important to your long-term culture and relationships and leadership.
We needed to solve a problem. And at that point, it was, like you said, hey, if they can't solve it, like, I want to give them the skills and tools to handle it. And if they can't, I will tell them, you can always come to me.
Yep.
And that is never the wrong answer. If you don't need me and can solve a problem, amazing. Let me know what happened and that you solved it, just so I know.
Yep.
But let them fly, let them work on what they need to work on. Let me do the things that will keep the ship moving and steering forward to put them in the right places.
And that's your job as a leader.
It's been an evolution.
Well, it's for both of us, my friend.
Yes.
The third aspect, and we talked about this a little bit actually, just, the outcome or the desired outcome of having crucial conversations is to protect that culture. So, Ryan, one thing, the third thing, and there's many, but the third thing I want to highlight today that you do exceptionally well is protecting that culture. And interestingly enough, when you start a gym business, you're thinking, if you're anything like me or probably you're thinking the X's and O's of fundamentally training someone, which, how it's important to get them a result and coach them from a nutrition perspective and all the X's and O's to get a client a better fitness and fat loss result. Yeah. But interestingly enough, especially in our business model, that's important, but that's only a part of the equation. The culture, the vibe, the relationships, the energy, that is where the magic happens. So really, let's unpack that from your perspective. How have you been successful at it? What sort of focus have you, put on it, and maybe some strategies on how to increase your culture?
Absolutely. I think you nailed it by saying, we put so much emphasis on the workouts, and this, it really is such a small fraction of it, because you think about, I need the new equipment, I need this. That's not what makes the magic.
No.
It isn't. I did this out of a 186 square foot room. It wasn't the cool equipment. It wasn't the setting. It's relational. What we do, it's relation over transactions, interaction over transaction, I should say. You think about, what do you walk in, when you have an experience and you go somewhere, what do you hear? What do you see? What do you smell? What does it sound like? What are the people like? And it's not like they have the coolest new equipment on the wall. But does someone know my name when I walk in? Did they ask me, hey, how was your daughter's birthday last weekend? Because you mentioned it last week in session. And, hey, Julie remembered that. All of a sudden, we're now their new favorite people.
And that is such a small thing that has such a giant impact. And my brother Barrett says this all the time, big doors swing on little hinges. And that's a little hinge that opens up a big door.
Yeah. We, sometimes, I say this, lovingly and jokingly, our 5 p.m. session as a group of people that we have such good, diverse population that we work with, whether age, shape, size, fitness level, demographic, and they're crossing paths with people that they would probably never meet in real life based on where our intersection is in town, in different areas. And they jokingly call themselves land of the misfits. And they're like, we would probably never go or feel comfortable anywhere else because of where we feel seen and the culture you have and the interaction and the engagement. And it speaks volumes about the way people want to fit in. They want to be part of something that's more than a gym.
Totally.
Because they could be suffering in silence on their own. They have tried everything. and they don't know what they don't know, but they know that somebody cares, that somebody knows their name, that someone is going to send them a handwritten birthday card before their family does, and is going to show up for them day in and day out, even when they don't believe in themselves. That is why they keep coming back through the door. And whether it's I'm checking the box on the attendance sheet on the wall, whether we're celebrating milestones, whether we're doing shout outs, whether we're recognizing their 100th session or 500th, we've shown up at baby namings, we've shown up at funerals, we've shown up at weddings. Like, the milestone moments that they associate with life, they still associate with us.
Totally.
That is somebody that is going to, stay, pay, and refer for life. I have generations. We have people in our Fit Body Forever family. We have their kids, and then we have their grandkids. We have 3 generations throughout.
And Ryan, we were just talking off script in terms of your background with, your master's degree.
Yeah.
And then your work at the Cleveland Clinic, and then still having clients. I mean, this is over a decade ago within your Fit Body Forever. So that long-term retention culture, I mean, that's just, priceless.
Yeah. But if the team doesn't get it and I don't communicate it properly, it's like, hey, run a great session, or hey, make sure everybody, gets recognized. What does that mean?
Yeah.
I need to be very clear. And over the years, I was very vague, or I thought I said something, but it didn't come out the same way. So my framework in messaging and making sure like they know exactly what we're looking for so they can deliver it. Because I don't think anyone comes in saying, I'm going to do a terrible job at work.
No.
You wouldn't think so.
No.
But if I can give them better instruction, and that's something I'm constantly working on. I'm a parrot, as you said. Mm-hmm. So sometimes the details, I get excited about doing stuff, and I'm like, all right, cool. But like, I didn't give them the granularity on how to do it. That's my fault. Mm-hmm. Like, everything that happens is my fault because I didn't message it properly. I didn't message it at all, or I dropped the ball somewhere.
And that, my friend, just describes your leadership. It describes your mentorship. It describes your business ownership. It's taking extreme ownership. And when you take extreme ownership, it's hard at first, but really
Self-audit.
that unlocks the door for better client experience, better team experience, more income and impact, which is the name of the game.
For sure.
Hey there, my name is Bryce Henson, CEO of Fit Body Bootcamp, and you might know me as the host of this podcast, but what you might not know is that I started my fitness business journey as a Fit Body location owner. And since 2012, I've been able to impact my community while creating financial freedom, both for myself and my family too. You see, by using Fit Body's proven business model, we give you all the support and guidance you need to be your own boss and build a business that aligns with your passion for fitness. And being we are the absolute best at launching and scaling our franchise partners' gyms, we are now excited to announce our 100 member guarantee. Now you might be thinking, Bryce, what is that? Well, we are so confident that we'll launch your Fit Body Bootcamp location with well over 100 paying members from day one on your grand opening that if we don't, we'll run your marketing till we do. That's how confident we are in our ability to support you and guide you through this process. So if you're interested in creating more income through impact, click the link somewhere around this video to apply.
All right, my friend, we still have a little bit more time in the kind of main section of this conversation. The last really thing I want to unpack is really, if you can take a look at your business, 30,000-foot view, what's probably been one of the biggest highlights of your experience that you can pass along? And then changing tune, what's been the biggest challenge or adversity that you have overcome? And I don't want you to skimp on that because at the end of the day, we all go through challenges as business owners, and that's really important for our audience to hear. So 2-part question, but we'd love to unpack that.
I didn't know what this was going to grow into when I first started. Over years, we've rebuilt the gym itself and expanded because more people are coming in. And to see the growth and to see that aspect of people are loving what they're doing and telling more people, and more people are hearing about us and wanting to change their life and come do something that's just amazing that they might not have done or didn't think they could ever do. And we're giving them a space to do that. Not just the physical space, but the mindset and the behavior, and seeing somebody that says, I finally have the confidence to leave a relationship that's not healthy, or to make the career change that I've not thought I was worthy of. Because when we're not feeling good in our skin, we accept less than treatment. When we start feeling better, we tolerate less bullshit. And being very candid.
So true.
So that is life-changing for people in so many avenues. We had someone that started when she was 28 years old, was on several different medications, was over 350 pounds. She was a night shift nurse, and her brother had just passed away unexpectedly and left 2 small kids. She reached out to us and said, I need to get my life together. I'm also caring for people as a nurse. I I can't do it like this anymore. She lost 119 pounds, was off all her blood pressure medications. She wanted to be able to ride a ride on Disney World. She sent us a picture at Disney. I got a picture from the plane that she didn't need a seatbelt extender. Like, what does that feel like for somebody just to exist in public that couldn't do that before? So just the messages and conversations that we get to have with these people, it's incredible. It is absolutely priceless. And the way that we can connect, I don't think I could be doing anything else that is not impactful or meaningful because of those moments. There's such a large slope of just transaction versus interaction. I think that's what it's about.
Oh, dude. And our mission at FitBody is to inspire fitness and change lives. Globally, that's what we do. And we actually really, really do that with every sense of our being. And from a business perspective, from a business model perspective, our vision and our mission at HQ is to grow our franchise partners in income through impact.
Absolutely.
And if you can merge those two, that is where bliss happens.
For sure.
So that's the highlight. What about the challenge? If you look back since 2015, and I love this question because we all face challenges and adversities. I mean, even your entry point to opening your FitBody Bootcamp, within 90 days, you're already experiencing a flood. No one signs up for that, but Murphy's Law at its finest, right? And that's just happens. So from that perspective, what's been your biggest challenge or obstacle to overcome? And I'm sure there's some learning lessons that our audience can glean from that.
Expect the unexpected, if you will. Understanding that change is inevitable. Change is scary, even positive change for good reasons.
Yeah.
But looking at, hey, I'm creating this amazing culture and I'm coaching on the floor, but I can't grow if I'm doing everything. So removing myself from the floor and finding coaches and is the culture going to change? Because I'm taking myself off the floor and so many people have just been used to me. And here's a new person. And here's a new person. And how do I frame them to be like, hey, know, like, and trust and build them as an authority, but they wouldn't believe in them if I didn't frame it properly. I've put the wrong people on the floor. I have put the wrong people on the floor to give an experience that was not what we wanted. And then we have to circle back and be like, hey, you know what? I hear your feedback and it is absolutely valid and this is what we're working on. And they wouldn't have stayed if we hadn't built a rapport or trust, because the cost of a bad experience is just detrimental.
Totally.
They're constantly going to be evaluating, well, this is what happened yesterday. This person did something different. So how do we align that? Shoot, I didn't tell everybody how consistent I needed it to be. That's on me. Anytime you add a new person to your team, the culture changes. We need to do it, realign all over again.
Even an awesome person is a rock star that has the light in the eyes.
Yep.
Yeah, it's still going to change, and it's still something that you need to manage as a leader.
Yes. The overcoming adversities, yes, we've dealt with floods, we've had roof issues. We don't do well with water, apparently. Full disclosure, we found some before I left for this trip.
Oh, goodness.
My director of happiness and operations, if you will, is like, hey, just heads up, I'm keeping an eye on that spot. Don't want to freak you out. I'm like, cool.
Good times.
Without fail, last time I was here, we had a roof cave in last year at this time.
It's the joys of being a business owner that
Yes.
you don't have that insight prior, but that's just the stuff you got to work through.
No, but I think realizing that if I'm not doing the right things, it trickles down from the top. And if I'm not staying in communication with my team, sometimes silence is not a good thing because something's happening behind the scenes. Or you think everything's fine, and then they're afraid to bring you stuff. And I'm like, did I do something to create a wall that you don't feel comfortable talking to me, or you just don't want to bother me? Because I can't solve problems when I don't know, but I also need to make sure that we have an open line of communication, that you feel comfortable telling me the hard stuff that I need to know, even when it's uncomfortable. And I've had friction points. I mean, Julie and I went through it. We are stronger and tighter than ever because I think if you can give them ownership and explain where they can create wins, they want to show up and do that in a place that they enjoy with people that they like and feel fairly compensated. And we talk about US having time for outside life. My goal is to give everybody that freedom and build it in. If my vision can be big enough to house everybody else's, that's how they stay. And that's where we're going forward.
Gold, my friend. I appreciate your time. I still have a few more minutes for the last lightning round if you're up for it.
Yeah.
In rapid fire, what's your biggest passion today? You're certainly a passion-based guy. What's your biggest passion and why?
I think obviously we talk about creating impact, and I think that comes from connection. So if I can keep connecting with people and solving problems, whether it's, so much of what we do is not squat through your heels, but it's the other 23 and a half hours of the day. I think connecting people and having crucial conversations to help them is where it's at the end of the day, because I go to bed thinking, did I do the right thing? Did I help somebody where I could have? And tomorrow I'll do better.
Zone of Genius, and I know I highlighted a few Zone of Genius, and we probably talked about a few of them for your lens more than anyone, Ryan. What's a Zone of Genius that you have, maybe that you've developed that really has led to your success from your perspective?
I'd say framework. Sometimes the message is lost in the delivery, and it can mean everything to how somebody hears something that they need to hear. And if we don't say it the right way, we're not changing their life and being honest with the hard things.
In terms of words to wisdom, I love this question kind of as my second to last question as a parting piece.
Yeah.
So if there's an audience member who, for whatever reason, they've been successful in their career, but for whatever reason, they haven't had the impact they've wanted, and they're looking for something more. There's a burning passion. They're excited to basically launch a passion-based fitness business, but for whatever reason, human nature, scared, apprehensive, nervous, what do you say to that person?
Do it scared. I built my parachute on the way down. If I waited, I would never make a decision. I have a history of, paralysis by analysis, and if you want to change lives, you want to take that next step, it's not going to happen by accident. Do it scared.
Do it scared. Last question, my dude, and this has been awesome. The name of this podcast is the Fitness CEO Podcast. You are the CEO of your business. You are the CEO of your life. From your lens, Ryan, what does it mean to be a CEO to you?
It means casting a vision. It means putting, the people in your boat that want to be rowing in the same direction and know the mission. And that, there's a quote that says, if you want to do it fast, do it alone. If you want to go far, do it together. Find your people that go together.
Ooh. Before we shoot today, I just wanted to take a quick second to acknowledge you for who you are as the person. I've had the opportunity to, get to know you since 2015, and it's been a beautiful experience over the years as our relationship, as our connection has increased, and who you've brought to, our organization, your spirit, your character, your passion, you make us better. And even yesterday, after delivering a tough transitionary message, you came up to me and you just let me know how much you support me and the vision, and I just want to let you know that I reciprocate that, and I'm so grateful for you and how you show up, and you certainly helped a lot of people, not only today, but in your experience. So I want to thank you for that.
Thank you. Your impact on, my life personally and professionally has just been profound, and I'm grateful to have this conversation and to be where we are.
My dude.
Thank you.
All right, friends, I know you got a ton of value from this episode is what I was trying to say. I certainly did. I know you did too. So assuming you did, give this episode a like, give us a subscribe, write us an awesome review on iTunes, but better yet, share this with someone that needs to hear this message, and that way we can keep producing this content for you for free. So Ryan, my man, appreciate you, my brother.
Thank you.
And friends, we'll see you in the next episode.